Yesterday I made a video demonstrating combat in DM Hub. One user, Rock'n'Lock93, pointed out that the Hobgoblins did not appear to be using their martial advantage feature in combat. The martial advantage feature, as we see down here, says that once per turn when the Hobgoblin attacks somebody, it can do extra damage if that creature is within 5 feet of an ally of the Hobgoblin that isn't incapacitated. Now, we try to automate as many abilities as possible in DM Hub. Some are not really appropriate, or we're just not quite there yet with our technology. But Martial Advantage, it was an oversight not to have it implemented, and it was also an oversight of mine when doing the video to not actually remember to add this, because even if it's not implemented, when I attack with the Hobgoblin, I should, like, when the damage comes up, I should say, oh, they have martial advantage. Do I need to add that? And I could make an appropriate addition to the roll. It's kind of hard to notice everything when making a video. So I'm going to do penance here by demonstrating to you how you could set up an ability like that for something like a Hobgoblin. Now, before we get there, the first thing in DM Hub that's quite important that I also didn't do when making my video yesterday is it's good to make sure that DM Hub has a clear idea whose side everybody is on. Now, I just created all of these creatures and didn't give them any kind of assignment, meaning that DM Hub just thinks they're really generic NPCs. Here, by default, the character pane shows you all of the important characters in the game, and this game doesn't have any. It just has an empty players party, and then we provide a friendly NPCs party to put any friendly NPCs, and it has nothing. So everything is just considered a generic monster, and they're all friends of each other. Now, I don't have any players in my game to assign anybody to, but I can assign to the players party all the player characters. And now they will be considered players. We can see them over here, and they will be considered, we can actually go to the party configuration in the compendium to confirm that they are hostile toward monsters. Monsters is the name we give to anybody who's not a member of a party. They're considered a monster. So players and monsters are enemies. So in this combat, we now have the players enemies of the monsters. Okay, now we have that established. I'm just going to demonstrate that works by using Tess, who is a rogue, and she is going to take a shot at this goblin. And I'm going to make sure that she hits, and then we can see that her sneak attack activated. And her sneak attack activated because, as we can see in the green text at the bottom, that the target is within 5 feet of an enemy of theirs that is not incapacitated. So the goblin is within 5 feet of Alara. If we moved Alara away and we repeated the attack, we would see, not sure what a goblin's armor class is, we'll see that sneak attack does not activate because the goblin is not within 5 feet of an enemy of theirs that is not incapacitated. So we can see that for sneak attack this works. The Hobgoblin does not yet have a martial advantage ability set up. So if we attack with the Hobgoblin, we see that it doesn't have any ability for martial advantage. So let's show you how to set this up. So we press C to go to the character sheet, and we're going to add a custom feature to Hobgoblins, and we will call this martial advantage. I could copy in the text here, but I'm just gonna not do that right now. So what we want to do is we want to modify damage rolls, and so the type of damage is attack damage. We're going to modify, and we have a condition here to show whether we actually want this to sort of display at the top of an attack. And I think we would actually like every time the Hobgoblin attacks, it at least show the martial advantage ability exists, and the player can check it or not. and then it's meant to add 2d6 damage to the roll. So we just type in 2d6 here. And it said that we can use it once per round. So I go per round, one use. So it can use it one time per round. It doesn't use up any other kind of resource. And so I'm going to leave it there for now. And this is like a first tier implementation of martial advantage. And it would actually be convenient if I got this note text here. I should have done that in the first place and copied it in there just so we have a note of what it all means. Okay, so now if we attack with our Hobgoblin, we will see that he does get a checkbox for martial advantage, and it is not checked because we didn't provide a condition yet for when it should check. And for many abilities, though, this might be fine. Like, at least we show it up here, so you can sort of check the stats when you do a damage, and you sort of say, yes, this should be used or this shouldn't be used. And for some things, like, that's probably the best you can do, that the player still has to make the choice whether to use the ability or not. For martial advantage, we can go one step further, and we can do something very, very similar to what the rogue's sneak attack does. And if you didn't know how things work, what I would recommend is going into your compendium and say, well, I know rogue does sneak attack, so how does it do sneak attack? And rogues get sneak attack at level 1, right? So we go classes, rogue, sneak attack, and we look in here and we see something similar, see a modified damage, and see it has a nifty formula because it's based on the rogue's level and all of that. And so we can see down here that under the condition, we can see that the thing we want is target dot next to another enemy is what we want. And so I'm going to show you what that means. So here, we want to add, so right now it never auto activates. This is the thing that controls whether the checkbox will be ticked or not. So you could say it's always auto activated, so when the box comes up it checks it by default, but we want to make it conditional. And the condition we want to use is we want to type in a GoblinScript here, which tells us should this be checked or not. And I'm going to explain a little bit that if you're not familiar with how we do these GoblinScript things, every time you have a field with this little goblin icon, that means that this is a GoblinScript. And a GoblinScript is just whenever DM Hub needs to know some information, it has a question. And the question could be like, how much do I add to the damage? Or in this case, the question is, should this martial advantage apply or not? That's the question, and you have to type in a formula, and in this case the answer should be like a yes or a no. It should apply or it should not apply. And in GoblinScript, we can go to the formula documentation if we need to see all of the sort of different fields that we can type in here. And you'll see that to start with, there's some examples, And so an example for this kind of GoblinScript is you could type in dexterity is greater than target.dexterity. And that would make it so that martial advantage would apply only if the attacking creature has higher dexterity than its target. Or you could say if the attack has finesse and we have advantage. Or we could say the target is next to another enemy. And this is actually, interestingly, pretty much what we want. Now, to go into a slight bit more detail, a GoblinScript always has what is called a subject, which is a creature that the GoblinScript is sort of looking at. And in that case, it's the Hobgoblin, it's the attacking creature, and it gets direct access to all of the fields that the Hobgoblin has. And all creatures have a ton of fields, which are all documented here. So like, you can look at a creature's armor, you can look at a creature's CR, you can look at a creature's conditions, all of these things. In addition though, any formula also gets some additional fields beyond the subject. So beyond the Hobgoblin, it knows about a few other things. So it knows about the ability that we're using to do this damage. it knows about the attack if this says that this is only if it's an attack damage can you use this. It has a variety of fields which you can read about, and one of the most important fields is this target field, and this is the creature that is being attacked. So the main subject is the hobgoblin, and then the target field will give us the target that we're attacking. So you can, this is very powerful. You can like type in all sorts of simple formulas to dictate when an ability will be activated. Now, in this case, what we really want to do is we want to type just target dot next to another enemy, and this. So we'll just, and you can see that as you type, it auto completes to show you that you're on the right track. So I'm typing target, and then when I press dot, it shows me all the subfields that target has. So next to another enemy. And we can see it has documentation over here telling us exactly what that means. So it counts the number of creatures next to this creature that are hostile to it, and it does not count the currently active creatures. So the currently active creature would be the hobgoblin. So the hobgoblin's attacking, the target looks and sees, do I have an enemy next to me other than the hobgoblin? And if I do, then this will apply. So this should pretty much work. There are some nuances that I'll talk about in just a second. Okay, so we'll see that it automatically checked martial advantage, and it even tells us it's because target next to another enemy. And then if let's test it by making it so these other enemies move away, and we'll try to attack again. And we'll see that it does not apply because target next to another enemy is not true. So we can see that this will implement our martial advantage, and as always, we can always just override it if we have some reason why that is not true. And so as we can see, that should now work really pretty well. There are a couple of nuances that I will talk about. The first nuance is that technically, this ability is a little bit different to how the rogue sneak attack works, in that the rogue sneak attack says that it can apply if the target is next to one of their enemies. The hobgoblin's ability says that it applies if the target is next to an ally of the hobgoblin. So technically, we're actually not checking if Alara here is next to an ally of the hobgoblin. We're checking if Alara is next to one of her enemies, which is technically not quite correct. However, in most cases, this will be completely fine. If you have a three-way fight, then maybe that's a corner case where it could occasionally fall down. And the other case where it doesn't quite work is it does say that that ally of the hobgoblin has to be not incapacitated, and we are not checking for that. And the reason for that is honestly that in DM Hub, we only have relatively limited ability in GoblinScript to check around a creature for who's nearby. You can just see if there's friends near you or enemies near you, and that's pretty much as granular as we can get, as we get right now. So I am planning to implement some additional conditions and things that would allow you to see it in a much finer grain manner, and also would allow you to implement things like flanking rules if you want and things like that. But that's not quite here yet. But we will have it in a future update. And thank you to Rock'n'Lock93 for bringing this to our attention and helping us to get going with this video.